Skinner and operant conditioning. In the early 1900s, psychologists were trying to understand a big question. Why do we behave the way we do? One psychologist, named Boris Frederick Skinner, believed the answer was simpler than people thought. Born in 1974, Skinner became one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century. He believed that behavior is shaped by its consequences, what happens after we do something. This idea is called operant conditioning. Skinner developed operant conditioning mainly during the 1930s and 1940s, building on earlier work by Edward Thorndike. His most famous experiments were published in 1938 in his book, The Behaviour of Organisms. Operant conditioning is based on a simple idea. Behaviors that are followed by rewards are more likely to happen again. Behaviors that are followed by unpleasant outcomes are less likely to be repeated. To study this, Skinner designed a special piece of equipment called the Skinner box. A Skinner box was a small, controlled environment containing an animal, usually a rat or a pigeon. Inside the box was a lever or button, a food dispenser, and sometimes a light or sound. In one classic experiment from the 1930s, a hungry rat was placed in the box. At first, the rat moved around randomly, but when it accidentally pressed the lever, a food pellet dropped into the box. The food acted as a reinforcer, something that increases the chance of a behavior happening again. Very quickly, the rat learned that pressing the lever led to food. The behavior became more frequent. This was an example of positive reinforcement, adding something pleasant, food, to strengthen a behavior. Skinner also studied negative reinforcement, which is often misunderstood. Negative reinforcement does not mean punishment. Instead, it means removing something unpleasant to increase a behavior. For example, Skinner showed that animals would learn to press a lever to turn off an annoying noise or mild electric current. The behavior increased because the discomfort stopped. Skinner also studied punishment, which reduces behavior. In some experiments, pressing a lever caused an unpleasant outcome, like a loud noise. The animal quickly learned not to press the lever. However, Skinner found that punishment was often less effective than reinforcement and could cause fear or stress instead of learning. One of Skinner's most important discoveries involved schedules of reinforcement, studied throughout the 1940s and 1950s. He found that behavior changed depending on how often rewards were given. For example, fixed ratio schedules rewarded behavior after a set number of responses. Variable ratio schedules rewarded behavior unpredictably. Variable ratio schedules, like those used in slot machines, created the strongest, most persistent behavior. This explained why gambling can be so hard to stop. Skinner didn't just study animals. He believed operant conditioning applied to human behavior too. He suggested that praise, grades, money, and attention act as reinforcers in everyday life. Teachers use reinforcement when they praise good work. Parents use it when they reward helpful behavior. Even apps and games use operant conditioning, with points, badges, and notifications. In 1953, Skinner published Science in Human Behavior, explaining how operant conditioning could be used to shape behavior in schools, workplaces, and society. Skinner's work changed psychology forever. It showed that learning doesn't always require thinking or insight. Sometimes, behavior changes simply because of what happens after it. At its heart, operant conditioning teaches us that behavior is shaped by experience. By understanding consequences, we can better understand learning, habits, and behavior change. So the next time you repeat something because it worked before, or stop doing something because it didn't, remember this: you're experiencing the principles first carefully studied by Skinner, showing how consequences quietly shape behavior every day.
If you enjoyed our channel, please click subscribe.